Salam fam, greetings from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I'm finally back after 3 years of war and suffering, and I'm so happy. I'm so grateful to be reunited with my family and friends again. And so, yeah, 6 months ago, most of you remember, I recorded an episode where I compared Addis Ababa versus Nairobi to evaluate which city is the better place to live for diasporas. And so I got so much positive feedback on that. Thanks for all the love, fam. And this video alone helped me to get more than 5,000 subscribers. I never expected that. And I'm so thankful. Thank you, fam. And I got so many DMs as well. So people were asking me, well, what about education, healthcare? Because in this video that I recorded 6 months ago, we had the 7 following criteria, which were housing and transportation, peace and stability. We were looking at food, entertainment and lifestyle. We were looking at the weather and natural environment, at the energy and spirituality of each of those 2 cities. And last but not least, we were looking, of course, at the business opportunities. However, I noticed also, due to all the questions that I got, the relevant questions, that there are much more criteria that we should look at, and therefore I decided to make a part 2. And here we are. In today's city battle between Addis Ababa and Nairobi, we will look at the following 7 criteria that I chose because they are of importance and relevance for me personally. And so these 7 criteria are: number 1, we will look at healthcare. Number 2, we will look at education. Number 3, we will look at wellness opportunities. Number 4, we will look at hair care. Number 5, we will look at the immigration department, the process, because all of us who immigrate into one of these 2 countries will have to go through the process sooner or later. Number 6, I will look at the social fabric of each of these 2 cities. And last but not least, the 7th criteria, we will look at the electricity and water supplies of these 2 capitals. Fam, before we dive into the video, there's one thing that I forgot to mention in the first part of the city battle, Addis Ababa versus Nairobi, and that just came to my mind now when I was about to upload the video. Let's acknowledge the fact that Addis Ababa, other than other capitals on the African continent, such as Nairobi, was not built by a colonial power, by white people, because as we know, Ethiopia was the only African country that has never been colonized. And as such, the city development of Addis Ababa is also very unique because it is a capital, a city that was built by Black people for Black people. And so with that in mind, it's quite difficult to compare Addis Ababa and Nairobi. It's like comparing apples with pears. But still, so many diasporas find great value in it because they're seeking to resettle on the African continent and cannot decide between Addis Ababa and Nairobi. And therefore, we can acknowledge the fact, the uniqueness of Addis Ababa and its historical development and significance, but still we can try to be as much unbiased as possible in our evaluation between the 2 cities in terms of their living conditions. With that in mind, let's dive straight into the video. Number 1, healthcare. I can only speak from my own personal experience. I, thank God, never had to go to a hospital or a doctor in Kenya. So I can only speak about my experience in Addis Ababa. And what instantly comes to my mind was my experience during the Corona pandemic. It was in 2020, at the very beginning. I traveled to Ghana. I was in Ghana when the COVID pandemic broke out. At that time, I was living in Addis Ababa. So I was able to catch the last flight back to Addis before Ethiopia would shut down its borders. And so 3 days later, I really felt sick. I had high temperature and fever. So I decided to go to the doctor. And then, of course, they immediately did a corona test. They suspected me to have corona. Anyway, so they told me that I will get the results for the corona test within 24 hours. And during that time, it was mandatory, decided by the government, that everyone who was suspected to have corona had to quarantine in one of the quarantine centers at that time. So overall, I found that the nurses and the medical staff at this quarantine center, they were not really working professionally, and they were also very rude. It was just a horrible experience. And then after 5 days, I finally got the results, and they turned out to be negative. Still, they refused to release me and forced me to go to the Black Lion Hospital, the biggest hospital in Ethiopia, to get an x-ray of my lungs. And what happened there, fam, was so traumatizing. So I was sitting there in the entrance hall waiting to get the x-ray. And then there was this emergency, and I think this guy had a car accident or so. He was brought inside the waiting hall with a bed, and his mother was standing next to him. He was paralyzed, and all of a sudden, his bed that he was lying on, you know, the ones from the ambulance that you can fold, it broke down, boom, and this guy was lying on the floor. I was so shocked. I was like, I need to get out of here ASAP. These people are going to kill me in one way or the other. And so I managed to talk to the head of that department, and he allowed me to go to one of the private clinics in Addis Ababa and send them the results. So I went to the best clinic of Addis Ababa, private clinic called Nordic Clinic, spent there 2 nights and spent a fortune, fam. Like, I spent almost $2,000 just for getting checkups, you know. And in the end, nobody knew what I had. They made another corona test. It was negative again. Just pray you never get sick in Addis Ababa. And when it comes to Kenya, again, I haven't been sick before in Kenya, but I know of many friends that who have relatives who are seriously sick, that they bring them from Ethiopia to Kenya, to Nairobi, to get a medical treatment. But you know, a basic Google search will be enough to see that Kenya, when it comes to healthcare, is far ahead of Ethiopia. According to Statista, for instance, you can see that Kenya has the second highest healthcare index score in Africa after South Africa. And so this round definitely goes to Nairobi. Now, second criteria, let's look at wellness. So for me, this is a very important criteria, because I personally make sure that I have a spa day, a wellness day, at least every 2 weeks. And that is still not enough. I wish I had the time to do it once a week. So I had once a beautiful spa day in Nairobi. I think it was in the Mövenpick hotel. And the customer experience and the overall spa experience was amazing, was next level, fam. I loved it. However, I find Addis Ababa a little bit more better when it comes to wellness and spa, because they offer, and this is something that I haven't found yet, I might be able to find it in the future, let me know in the comments, but I love traditional ancient saunas and steams, and you have so many of those ancient traditional spas in Addis Ababa. One of the most famous one is called Weibatish. Wow, fam, I have no words for this. This is so amazing. But I must say, this is really only for females. So if you are a woman and you get the chance to visit Addis Ababa, don't miss out on a Weibatish spa. You will not regret it. So basically what they do is, in the first step, your entire body from head to toe will be rubbed with pure Ethiopian butter. And then in the next step, you will be covered with a lot of blankets. They were so heavy. And then you have to go and sit on a chair, And there are different like woods, roots, and herbs that are being smoked, and then your whole body basically gets smoked. And so it is said to cure womb diseases. It's said that it helps against back pain. It can release cramps in your uterus and your womb. And it also said to, like, especially they do it after a woman gave birth, right, to heal the womb. And it also is said to have a lot of beauty benefits. And so it's a very ancient method, treatment for females that can be found, I personally believe, everywhere in Africa. I know that they have it in Zanzibar, they call it zingo, I was told. And then they have it in Sudan, where it is called, I think, dukan in Arabic, which means smoke. I know they have it in Somalia. I know it's very common in Eritrea and also in many parts of Ethiopia. So this is very special. I love this treatment and I can recommend it to everyone, every female, of course. And yeah, that is why I think this round goes to Addis Ababa. However, I must say one thing that I miss when it comes to wellness in Addis is that the yoga community is very small. There's only one yoga teacher I know of. Her name is Herans Yoga. Shout out to this queen. She helped me to regain my strength and to rebuild my lungs after my COVID disease. And yeah, in Nairobi, on the other hand, you have a much more bigger yoga community. And also the yoga teachers, they can really live from this profession. Whereas in Addis Ababa, there is still a big resentment towards yoga. And I think that has also to do with yeah, with the religion, you know. The people are still very conservative and they're very suspicious towards yeah, wellness practices such as yoga. Anyway, let's get to the third point. Let's talk about education. When it comes to education, definitely Nairobi also takes the cake. Nairobi simply has much more international schools to offer that are also way more affordable than the ones in Addis Ababa. So there's no need of much discussion here. When it comes to education, it is really difficult to find very good and affordable schools in Addis Ababa. Like, and so, yeah, this round definitely goes to Nairobi, where you can find schools, good schools, international schools, for as little as for $500 per month. It was way more easier for me to find a good school for my children in Nairobi than in Addis Ababa. And yeah, as I said, they are also way more affordable. Now let's get to the next criteria. Criteria number 4, hair care. And let me tell you something, fam. This round definitely goes to Addis Ababa. I can only speak for myself, but I feel that they really know how to take care of my hair here. Like, first of all, the hairdressers here in Addis Ababa are much more affordable than the ones in Kenya. And then also, I like the kind of hairstyles they can do for you here in Addis Ababa, especially when it comes to braids. Whereas in Kenya, in Nairobi in particular, what I like is that there are so many barbers and hairdressers that are specialized on locks. So if you have dreadlocks, then definitely Nairobi is the place for you, because as far as I know, there's only one or two barbers, hairdressers here in Addis Ababa that know how to do locks and how to retwist them. Yeah, and I think that has also to do that with the fact that dreadlocks, unfortunately, are still not as socially accepted as they are in Nairobi, for instance. There's still this stigma associated with dreadlocks that, yeah, the negative associations, such as you would be considered maybe as a criminal, as a taking drugs. You know, this is very ignorant thinking, but it's just the reality. Whereby what I loved about Nairobi was so many women were wearing locks, embracing their natural hair. Yeah, if you're a dreadlock Rasta, Nairobi will serve your hair care much more better than Addis Ababa can. But for me personally, also because I really love the traditional braids from my region, and therefore I prefer Addis Ababa. So this round goes to Addis Ababa. Now, let's get to the sixth criteria, the immigration department, where each one of us, sooner or later, has to go to either like get the residence permit approved and stamped into the passport, or just renew the ID. So I went to both departments. Almost a year ago, I had to go to the immigration department in Nairobi to get my residency approved, and I found that everything was well organized, was going smooth. It took me only maximum 2 hours in the immigration department, and I was done with the process, you know. And I was like briefed properly which steps I have to go, where I have to queue up. And as I said, after 2 hours, I was done, you know. Whereby in Addis Ababa, last week, I went to the immigration department with my mom so we get our Ethiopian IDs renewed. It was a horrible experience, fam. My body was shaking. I thought I'm going to die here. Like, first of all, what I really don't like, there was so much military, and I felt so uncomfortable because of the machine guns the securities were carrying. And yeah, the whole situation was a mess. There was no system whatsoever. There was only like military. They couldn't tell you nothing. They would just tell you, sit down here and wait. There was about 100 people who were waiting there. And whenever you would ask a question like, when can we enter the building? When is this my turn? They would just tell you, shut down and sit down. They would shout at you. I even saw how one lady got beaten up with a stick because after, I don't know, she was maybe waiting 6-7 hours. She was tired of sitting there and having no answers on how to proceed. And even we were sitting like there for at least 2 hours before we decided now we have to do what everybody is doing, because some people were just sneaking their way inside. When the security was looking this way, they were running inside the building and talking to the security guard there. So we did the same and we succeeded, and inside was a mess. They would tell us, go to counter number 2. Counter number 2 would tell you, wow, you missed this document, so you have to get these documents first at counter number 13. Overall, it took us like, we went there 8 in the morning and we left 5 in the afternoon. And overall, I found it was very horrible. It was unorganized, chaotic, violent. So if you ever have to go to the immigration department in Addis Ababa, be prepared for the worst. Don't expect anyone to give you clear instruction on what you have to do. And, you know, it's like survival of the fittest. Yeah. And so this round definitely goes to Nairobi. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to the sixth criteria, to the social fabric of each cities. And so I had a very interesting experience in Nairobi. It was actually a shocking experience, also because of where I am from, right? And so what I noticed, just to make it short, whenever Kenyans would ask me where I'm from, I would tell them, yeah, I'm half Ethiopian, half Eritrean. How about you? And then they would naturally, proudly, not only embrace their Kenyan identity, but also their ethnic identity. So they would say, yeah, I'm Luo, or yeah, I'm Kikuyu, or I'm from this tribe, or from this ethnic group. And everyone would be doing it. And in a very natural way, unbiased way, in an authentic way. Whereby in Addis Ababa, because also of the ethnic conflicts that we are facing in the last couple of years, it is almost a taboo to speak about your ethnic identity. I remember when the war against my region, Tigray, broke out in 2020, fam, like, we were scared even to speak our mother language, Tigrinya, on the streets. clubs and bars were shut down for playing Tigrinya love songs. It was easier to sell cocaine in the clubs than club owners playing Tigrinya love songs. Like, so many businesses got shut down because of that. And whenever you would like, I mean, whenever you talk about your ethnic background, you would get the side eye. People would like act as if you are like, being a tribalist. It makes absolutely no sense. Ethiopians have real issues when it comes to that.
Stop it. Get some help.
However, I felt like that in Nairobi, there was a much better social cohesion, and people had much more respect for the diversity of the country, right? Like, everybody would embrace his own ethnic identity, whereby in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa, it was more or less, seen as something negative. And there's this extreme binary thinking in Ethiopia, zero-sum thinking, I call it. Like, for some people and for some reason, it is impossible to proudly embrace both your ethnic identity and your national identity, right? And so it's either or. And so, yeah, this round definitely goes to Nairobi. I really loved how people were free to live and express themselves in their ethnic identity, and how diversity was celebrated. And so, yeah, we Ethiopians, there is a lot we can learn from our neighbors in terms of respecting our ethnic diversity and striving towards unity in diversity. Because after all, I truly believe that our diversity on the African continent is our biggest gift, is our strength, right? And so, yeah, let's get to the next criteria and the last criteria. Number 7, electricity and water supply. And yeah, I can make it short. Nairobi wins this round, because what the hell is going on here in Addis Ababa, fam? Like, the power cuts, I've never experienced something like that. Of course, in Nairobi, we also have power cuts, yeah? But they will not last longer than usually of what I have experienced, a couple of hours, 4, 5, 6 hours. And then already my friends told me, wow, this is unusual. This is really long, whereby in Addis Ababa, it is not unusual to have no electricity for 2, 3 days, for being supplied with water by the government every 2 weeks. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. Also, regarding the fact that Ethiopia has so much water resources, but yeah, you will be surprised to see that in a capital, that so many people and neighborhoods have a lack of access to water and constant electricity. And yeah, I really struggle with that, to be honest. But yeah, there are much, much bigger problems, of course, that we are going through in this country right now, especially looking at the political situation. We have so much wars, so much suffering. Then, of course, water and electricity become secondary and minor issues. However, yeah, definitely also Nairobi wins this round and is therefore again the overall winner of this challenge. I'm so sorry to my Ethiopian fan. I'm not sorry. I mean, some of y'all really have a big issue, like the whole pride goes into your head. In the last episode where Nairobi also won the overall challenge, I also received hate, not only love. People were like attacking me, saying I hate my country, I am biased, and I'm trying to put my country, Ethiopia, in a negative light. But when I see how some of y'all are ignoring, downplaying, or refusing to accept these real issues that our country has, I wonder, who who is actually the one hating his country, her country? Like, ignoring the problems that your country has, right? That is the closest to hating your country, I believe. If you really love your country, you acknowledge its like shortcomings, because without acknowledging the shortcomings, how can you ever grow? How can we become better, right?
We don't do that here.
So stop being delusional and let's see our country, our city for what it is, for what we can improve and how we can do better. And I mean, if you have never been to both cities anyway, then you are not in the position to tell me which city is better, right? So, and I always, as I said, I speak from my own experience. And so, yeah, again, haters gonna hate, but I love my country still. I prefer to live in Nairobi. It's easy as that. And yeah, the criteria that I have chosen are the criteria that are relevant and most important for me and for other diasporas as well. And yeah, I always say, make your own experience. And of course, as I said in the first part of this city battle, you should definitely visit both cities. They are both unique, both vibrant, amazing places to see. But when it comes to living, I definitely prefer Nairobi. Let me know what you think in the comments, fam. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out my upcoming episodes. I'm currently traveling full time with my 2 children through the African continent, and I'm going to create so much amazing content. So stay tuned, hit the notification bell to not miss out any of those upcoming episodes. And I see you next week, fam. Bye.